Welcome. My name is Paul Scott, and I'm lucky enough to have spent the last 20 years helping organizations succeed in acquiring and growing and retaining their customers through the use of technology, more specifically CRM. I've been in the CRM industry since 2001, and I've consulted and helped organizations deliver sales, service, and marketing solutions across the US, Asia, Europe, and New Zealand. And I guess I've been lucky enough to also work through every industry you can think of, pretty much covering B2C, B2B, pharmaceuticals, FMCG, insurance, banking, manufacturing, retail, not-for-profit. So I've kind of been there and done that. And I guess over that time, I've worked with many business leaders on their business strategies and their customer strategies in terms of and their technology strategies, and how all of those line up to help to drive a more customer-centric focus for their organizations. So today I want to talk to you about something that I'm incredibly passionate about, which is how you can pivot your strategy to ensure that your existing customers are getting enough love, care, and focus from you to actually drive material business success and growth. So I want to start with a premise of what I'm going to talk about today, and it's really an old one. It's been around, but significantly easier to keep an existing customer than to win a new one. And every organization knows it, every high-performing organization. However, many of the organizations I've worked with over the years and consulted with have unfortunately put significantly more effort into winning new customers versus actually looking after their existing customers. So there's many examples out there, and I'll just share a few with you. So let's take the banking industry, for example. How many times have you gone to take out a home loan or a mortgage, and the banks will fight over your business with all sorts of incentives, such as cashback incentives on your loan in order to acquire you. Yet once you're acquired, the focus changes. And at the end of your fixed term, your 3 years or your 5 years, those incentives aren't there. And you end up having to change banks, and all of that effort and cost of that organization acquiring you is wasted. Phone companies are another example. Huge mobile phone companies especially, huge deals to get you on board. Free minutes, extra minutes, but at the end of your term, it's nothing. Power companies recently here in New Zealand, TVs to sign up and move. So there's a lot of examples where massive incentives are actually offered to actually acquire your business. But what I want to take you through is a number of statistics and information to help you understand actually the importance and value and benefit of actually pivoting your strategy towards focusing on your existing customers. Now, a really well-known rule of thumb in business for many years is acquiring a new customer costs 5 times as much as keeping an existing one, right? Now, when you consider all the things such as marketing costs, sales costs, onboarding costs, additional support that those customers actually need from you in the early stages of your relationship, there's quite a big period before you can actually cover that investment back and actually gain any ROI or return on investment. Now, if your customers start churning too much, you've got to replace those customers, and that's assuming you actually can. And your bottom line is going to be impacted by that. And you're going to have unhappy shareholders, and you don't want that, trust me. And when you start looking at the customer lifetime value, or the CLV, you really start to see the return on investment on a customer a little bit later, not right at the start. So at the end of the day, if they're churning, it's not going to help. And happy customers will refer other customers. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. And the impact of that really compounds as time goes on. Now, there was in fact a study by Bain & Company together with Harvard Business School, and they looked at what they found is increasing customer retention by just 5% can really increase your profit from 25 to 95. So let's just sort of pull that apart a little bit, and I guess what we'll see is customers are more likely to spend money with businesses that they've already done business with before, particularly when your organization doesn't have a lot of brand recognition. What a customer might do early on is when their first purchase or two from you might be a smaller purchase, smaller amount, because it's seen as potentially somewhat of a risk to actually engage and buy from you. But then over time, what's going to happen is they're going to increase their spending as the relationship grows. The other thing is repeat customers are far more likely to refer other customers. So if we have a look at this chart, you'll see in there, in year one, you can see, the profit or the cost of the customer is really negative, right? And over time, that starts to increase. So what we'll generally see is it's around a 12 to 18 month break-even point on your investment to acquire a new customer. What they also found in the study is that a staggering amount in the United States in a typical year, companies lose on average $140 billion due to avoidable consumer switching. So you don't want to be part of that statistic. Now, who doesn't want higher win rates when customers? And we'll see up here from this statistic, right? The win rate when you're selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%, where with a new prospect, it's only sort of 5 to 20%. So who doesn't want to grow their business with a higher level of certainty in terms of winning? The other thing is obviously existing customers, they know you. They know your brand, they know your capability. And the other awesome thing is they're also able to make a selection faster, which will impact your profit and loss, your P&L a lot quicker as well. Now, the next thing just looking at here is some research actually out of Forbes found that existing customers are about 50% more likely to try a new product than new customers. And then they actually spend 31% more on average compared to new customers. So I actually love this example here, and I just, that I don't want to explain through. And, so if you think about a brand advocate who maybe buys Heinz tomato sauce, for many years, they know the taste, they love the taste, they know the texture, they love it on their French fries or their sausage, and they're really that advocate. But when you really sort of flip that whole paradigm and you bring out a new product, in this case, the upside down sauce bottle, the barrier for them to take on that new innovation is significantly lower than someone who isn't already your customer, because they already love your product and they're willing to make that jump. So I think it's a real key thing to think about in terms of existing customers. Now, if we maybe just drill into loyalty a little bit further, and there's some amazing stats there as well, some staggering metrics actually. Especially, I love the piece around forgiving customers. 5 times more likely to repurchase loyal customers and 5 times more likely to forgive. But what I want to really drill into is the last metric there, referrals. And referrals are absolutely key. Many people have been using a metric called Net Promoter Score, or NPS, for many years to look at how likely are customers to refer. So it's the old question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend X company to your family and friends? Now, if you haven't already heard of it, there's a new metric out called earned growth. And that sort of moves from NPS to the next level, and many people have coined it NPS 3.0. Now, there's a great article published by Harvard Business Review that's just come out this year. So I definitely encourage you to have a look at it. But what it actually shows here in this example that you can see is there's actually 2 companies here, Company A and Company B. And on the surface, if you actually have a look at it, both companies have the same revenue, both companies have the same cost. So on the surface, they're performing the same, right? Those companies must be equivalent. But however, when you actually drill down into that, there's actually significant differences in these companies, right? So one of the companies, Company A, has actually got to that growth through earning new customers through referrals, and Company B has actually achieved it through throwing a lot of money into sales and marketing. And the result of that is that the Company A has a significantly larger valuation and multiplier and a significantly higher earned value, right? So an outsider, an investor coming in and looking at that company, there'll be a massive difference. So if we sort of drill into that, and you can sort of have a look there in company A as an example, I think 65% of their revenue had come from new customers. But we can see there they've got a higher proportion of customers have come from referrals versus company B. When we look over into company B, we can see that there's that massive bar that shows us how much has been spent on acquiring new customers. So that's expensive. So earned growth is definitely a new key metric that we need to start looking at. Now, this one is really around pure maths. And if we just have a look at the difference between a churn rate of 2.5% and 5% over a 5-year period, what does that mean? And so this is customers with retention rates above the medium have reported growing faster. So in the orange, we've got an organization with a churn rate of only 2.5%, and the other in blue with 5%. And if you have a look in year 1 and 2, it doesn't actually make much of a difference to their overall revenue. But as we actually look over 5 years, suddenly it's made a 50% difference. It's massive. So all of that wasted revenue and profit from loss from churn, it's not productive. So just to cap off this piece, as we look forward, just recently in the latest report put out by Salesforce, their annual State of Customer Service survey, really talks about why customers are switching. And so what we can see from here is that customers will actually switch to a different brand purely for a level of service. And they'll actually buy more from you. So I guess I've talked a little bit now around the why you need to pivot your strategy. But the question is, what do you need to do to deliver? So I want to take you through a few items and suggestions for you to think about before you pivot your strategy. So the first thing is, take a look at your numbers, right? Your budget. How much are you actually spending from a cost perspective and effort perspective on acquiring new customers versus your existing customers? And I guess a bit of a rule of thumb, you should really be thinking about, not be spending more than about 65% of your sales and account management effort across acquiring new customers. 15% of your effort should be on cross and upselling to your existing customers. So that might be maybe getting them to take on new services or maybe increasing their commitment that they already take from you and what they're doing now. And then 20% of your effort then should be around renewing your existing customers, making sure that they're happy and that they roll over and purchase from you again. So take a look at your numbers, and many organizations I've seen will be spending more than that 65% on acquisition. Will be in the 80s and 90s. So really take a look at that. So that's the first thing. The next thing you need to have a look at really is silos in your business. It's a massive issue where various departments in your organization don't collaborate, or they don't have the visibility in terms of what's going on, and you're going to end up with a disjointed customer journey. Every department needs to be able to see the interactions of customers across the life cycle. And customers, they expect that you know what's going on with them, right? They don't want to have silos. They want you to know when you interact with them what's been going on in the relationship. Now, the other thing is, if you're actually pivoting your strategy towards customer service and success, you actually need to have senior leadership representation at the top table. So, have you got your customer service actually reporting into operations or sales? You probably want to have a look at that, right? To ensure you've got that C-level representation, that you've got that strong advocate for the customer at the senior leadership within the organization. If you haven't got that, you've got to really think about your strategy around customer. Now, too often what we've seen is that service is considered as a cost center, especially when you think about things like customer care or your contact center team. But however, what we're seeing now is a huge shift and a focus now towards new metrics for service, and contact center leaders are really looking at cross-sell. Now, cross-sell, when you think about cross-sell, you probably think about, do you want fries with your burger? That's not what we're talking about here, right? It's not what we're talking about anymore. Cross-sell can be things such as proactively offering different options for how people can manage their relationship with your customer, with your company. Offering something where you're saying, here's something to manage your experience better. So definitely an area to look at. The other thing is thinking about the segments within your customer base. And over the pandemic, things have definitely changed, right? The expectation for service has changed. And offering 1 or 2 channels to help your customers, and where one of them was telephone only, it's really unlikely to meet the expectations any longer. Like, I think if we look at, for instance, Gen Z, and they're really wanting to engage with you digitally and anytime in any channel, 24/7. And if you can't meet their expectation around that, they'll churn, they'll be gone. Now, social media has really changed the game as we all know it. Now, great brands, they know how to be successful to do this, to actually listen to their customers. Now, one thing I can tell you with 100% certainty is that there are people out there right now talking about your company on social media. Now, if you are not listening and proactively responding, there is without a doubt a vacuum being created, and that is not good. So if you're not there listening in social media and responding and dealing with things as they come up, you'll be seen as a company that simply doesn't care about its customers. And remember, we actually want customers to refer. We want them to be referrers. We want them to share with their friends. Now, lastly, from this perspective, you want to think about the metrics. The metrics will set you up you're going to measure yourself on this journey. You want to make sure you write them down. Now, whether it's NPS or earned growth or churn, you've got to make sure you capture them and make sure they're part of the plan and measure them as well. So, okay, we've looked at the why, and we know why we need to pivot our strategy. We looked at what we need to do. So now we're going to look at how. How are we actually going to go about it? And to be honest, to be successful, you're going to need to have technology to have your back. You need technology to have your back. The only way you can excel with customer service is with a company-wide CRM, customer relationship management solution. That's going to help you break down the barriers and provide a single view of your customer that any department can see, and they can add to as part of any interaction with your customers. Now, there are a number of CRMs out there, but Salesforce has been the #1 for many years, and for a good reason. Their level of innovation is ahead of the market, so it's a great place to start right there. Now, out of the box, you want to make sure that you've got a comprehensive customer service capability within the CRM. Enables you to capture and track all of the customer inquiries and issues through to an absolutely seamless completion. So if you're pivoting your service, if you're pivoting your business towards service, your ability to resolve issues as they happen will be the difference between churn or referral. And we can see from earlier what that will do to your business's performance. The second thing you need to do is absolutely fire up all through digital channels. Phone and email alone are not going to cut the mustard anymore, right? You need to meet people where they are and leverage digital channels, including things live chat through social media. And it's about giving customers a choice. So it's absolutely critical. Now, providing your customers with self-service will enable you to deliver at a lower cost, but it also enables you to deliver with a higher level of satisfaction, and customers can engage with you 24/7. So key really to that will be a customer portal or a customer community. Customers can log in and see their relationship with you, see some transactions, raise issues, whatever it might be. Now, chatbots are also a great option as well, which use artificial intelligence to deal with a wide range of conversations with your clients. And look, many CRMs like Salesforce will enable you to turn on this chatbot capability without a high additional cost as well. Now, the other thing I'm incredibly passionate around is knowledge, and knowledge directly to your customers. Let your customers actually solve problems for themselves. Look, not all customers will, but you actually gain their trust by being transparent about the types of issues that they might encounter, and enabling them to resolve themselves by themselves will enable you to gain their trust. So many organizations, especially in this part of the world, you go to their website and you have a look at getting support and understand what might have gone wrong with a product, which, if you're a busy business person with a family, is quite often, late at night or in the weekend and the first thing they do is there's no information there. They send you straight to a phone number. A knowledge base enables your customers to search for product issues and find the answers themselves. You can actually bring the power of the service team to your customers because you've got that information. You understand the challenges with your products and offerings, and your internal teams have got that information. So let's make it available to all. Now, lastly and finally, automate your process. There's nothing worse than an inconsistent brand experience. You talk to one service person, you get a different answer or a resolution to the other. So that's not a great experience. So what you want to do is automate and create a repeatable process. So what I'd suggest is, though, start to define your ideal future state service process. It's not a great idea to automate what you're doing now that might be broken. So that's not going to help. So first of all, get your process right. The second is make sure you've got tools. The tools in your CRM, including a workflow engine to make sure you can build your automation. So things like next steps for customers will automatically be triggered by actions happening in the business. And I guess it'll, also enable you to communicate efficiently with your customers as things happen. So I kind of want to end where I started, actually. And I hope you've kind of got a view now why pivoting your strategy towards customer success is key to improving the value of your company, but also how you can go about it. And remember, it's a lot easier to keep an existing customer than win a new one. Thank you.